Now, I just stumbled onto a crypto story, so crazy that I almost didn't believe it. Now, it involves Chainlink, Wall Street, and a twist that I never saw coming. Now, it all started when a friend shot me a message. He said, dude, Bitwise is filming, at least filing, I should say, a Chainlink ETF. And I literally kind of spat out my coffee. A Chainlink ETF, for real. Now, if true, this could be a game changer for those of us who've been in Link trenches for a while. So, of course, I dropped everything to find out if this was legit. And what I discovered turned into a wild ride through cryptoland that I'm going to share with you. Because by the end of this video, you're going to see why this isn't just another news headline. It's potentially a sneak peek at Chainlink's future. Oh, and here's a quick shout out. We were just debating on our free educational Discord server the other day about when something like this might happen. So if you want to join a bunch of crypto nerds, myself included, in figuring this stuff out, at least together, hop on in. So picture this. It's a regular day. I'm scrolling through crypto news and bam, Bitwise, a pretty well-known asset manager, has gone and filed the first ever US Chainlink ETF. And yes, an exchange-traded fund for Chainlink. That same link token that you and I have been hodling and using in DeFi for, well, ever. Now, I never thought that I would see the day. Now, what's an ETF? Well, in plain English, it's like a stock that represents an asset. So instead of buying Chainlink tokens directly, you can buy shares of this fund on the stock market, and it would track the price of Chainlink. That's huge because it means that even your friend who only uses a traditional brokerage account could get exposure to Link without messing with crypto exchanges or wallets. It's basically Chainlink for Wall Street. So, Bitwise filed something called a Form S-1, at least with the SEC, basically saying, hey, we want to launch this Chainlink ETF. They even named Coinbase Custody as the custodian, meaning that Coinbase would hold the actual Chainlink tokens for the fund. The filing mentions the fund can settle in cash or even dish out actual Link tokens when big investors cash out. But usually these things stick to cash because it's simpler. No one wants to manage a gazillion wallets for an ETF if they can avoid it. So hearing this, my first thought was, why Chainlink? I mean, I love Chainlink, obviously, but usually all we hear about are Bitcoin or maybe Ethereum ETFs. It turns out that Bitwise and some others, have been quietly lining up altcoin ETFs lately. There's talk of Solana, XRP, even a near protocol ETF in the works. Now, it's kind of like they all looked at the crypto landscape and said, okay, Bitcoin and Ether ETFs are either here or, coming. Most of them are there already. What's next? And they started targeting other big players in the crypto infrastructure. And Chainlink definitely qualifies as infrastructure. So if you're deep into Link, you know this. But in case anyone new is around, let me explain just real quick here. Chainlink is basically the Oracle network of the crypto world. It launched back in 2019 and has been the kind of go-to way to connect smart contracts with real-world data. Those price feeds that DeFi platforms use so that your loan doesn't get liquidated at the wrong price. Often Chainlink, right? Random number generation for NFT games and lotteries. Chainlink again, right? Connecting different blockchains to each other. Yep, that's Chainlink that's got a solution for that too. Now, with something they call CCIP, this is cross-chain interoperability protocol. Now, the point is, Chainlink is everywhere, in the background, quietly securing literally trillions of dollars in value across the crypto ecosystem. It's the unsung hero making all of these decentralized applications actually work correctly. So, an ETF for Chainlink kind of makes sense when you think about it. It's a way for institutions to invest in a piece of that critical infrastructure rather than just another speculative meme coin. Now, Eric, a big ETF analyst at Bloomberg, even highlighted that this move would let big players easily get exposure to decentralized Oracle tech. That's basically fancy talk for, hey, Wall Street can finally buy a stake in the plumbing of crypto. Now, I have to tell you this. When I saw the price of Link that jumped right after this news had hit, I was not surprised. It was like the market did a double take too. Link had been down a little bit earlier in the week, but suddenly it had bounced up to around $24, $25 and some change, roughly a 4% pop in no time at all. No huge, not huge by crypto standards, of course, right? We've seen, at least all seen Link do crazier moves, right? But enough to make me kind of raise an eyebrow and go, people are definitely paying attention. Even more interestingly, over the past month, Link has been on a tear, up something like 26%, right? Though, just to keep it real, it's still only about half of its all-time high from 2021. Remember that crazy $52 peak? Good times. So, we're not breaking new records yet, but the trend has been positive. Anyway, seeing that green candle, I hopped into at least onto my kind of Blowfin application, and I wanted to see the order books, the volume, all that kind of nerdy stuff. And yeah, the volume was decent, but interestingly, it wasn't, absolutely mayhem. In fact, some stats showed spot trading volume for Link that day was actually down just a little bit, something like 14% lower than the day before. Even though the price went up, it was kind of weird, right? It could be that a lot of people are holding tight right now, anticipating bigger moves instead of day trading. Futures and options open interest also dipped slightly. Maybe some short-term traders took profits or closed their positions. Who knows? The takeaway for me is this, right? This news gave Link a boost, but it didn't spark a full-on speculative frenzy, at least not yet. It was more like a nod of approval from the market, not a champagne pop. So let me rewind here for a second and talk about the timing here. Bitwise filed for this Chainlink ETF while the SEC, that's the US Securities and Exchange Commission, our favorite party poopers, have been dragging its kind of feet on other crypto ETFs. They recently delayed decisions on some proposals, including some from WisdomTree for another crypto fund. And it's not just Bitwise. A bunch of companies have been flooding the SEC with crypto ETF ideas. There's even talk of an ETF for a token that provides staking rewards. Just imagine an ETF that actually pays a yield from staking. It's pretty wild, right? This flurry of filings is happening, right? Maybe because regulators are slightly more open to crypto now than they were a couple of years ago. Or maybe the industry is just pushing harder, riding on the optimism that eventually the SEC will give in. It's one of those, and I've heard some say that the US doesn't want to fall behind other countries that are already offering crypto investment products, so pressure is building. All I know is that a year or two ago, a Chainlink ETF application would have sounded like a far-fetched rumor on Reddit. Now it's literally sitting on the SEC's desk, waiting for them to stamp it, or stamp it out. We'll see. Now, remember how I mentioned our Discord joke about a Dogecoin ETF coming before Chainlink? Well, here's the backstory. About a week ago, one of my buddies on the Discord said, watch them approve a Dogecoin ETF before Chainlink. LOL. That kind of got a bunch of us laughing reactions because it kind of felt true. Like, of course, they would go for a meme coin hype over the quiet workhorse, right? Fast forward to now, and well, I'm DMing that same friend like, yo, you won't believe this, but Bitwise just filed a Link ETF. Not kidding. Now, he thought I was pulling his leg. I had to send him a screenshot of the headline to just prove it. His reaction, well, basically an explosion of rocket emojis and Link Marines, our time has come. It was a moment of triumph mixed with a bit of disbelief. Now, before I let my own excitement run away with me, I had a sobering thought. Could this be the start of something that sends Link to the moon? Like, if this ETF actually gets approved, would big money pour in and rocket launch the price beyond that old $52 high? It's so easy to kind of get carried away with imagining all of that, right? But trust me, my inner moon boy was doing cartwheels and calculating hypothetical when Lambo scenarios for just a second. But then I took a deep breath, I stepped back, and I remembered something super important that I need to say. And then this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. It's important that you always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Now, neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video today is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Okay, we had to get that out there. Basically, you don't go YOLOing your savings into Link or any crypto just because some dude on YouTube, that's me, is hyped about an ETF filing. You should be smart, all right? You cool with that? Let's get into this then. Let's get back to the story. So, what does all of this really mean for us and for Chainlink? Well, practically speaking, if the ETF gets approved, big if at the moment, it means institutions like hedge funds, retirement funds, maybe even university endowments could buy into Chainlink really easily. That is huge because a lot of big investors have rules and restrictions. They can't just hop on Bluefin or Coinbase and just start buying up crypto for their fund. They need a regulated, traditional vehicle, something that their compliance departments will green light. A proper ETF trading on, let's say, the New York Stock Exchange, that fits the bill perfectly. So let's think about the demand that could create. It's not guaranteed that trillions of dollars will flood on into Link, of course, but there's definitely a chance that more money will flow in than otherwise it would. And more demand with a fixed supply, Link does have a max supply after all, typically puts upward pressure on the price, at least in theory. But again, let's temper those expectations, right? The SEC could sit on this filing for a very long time. They have a habit of extending deadlines, asking for revisions, etc. Or they could just flat out say no outright. There's precedent for them to reject crypto ETFs in the past. On the flip side, there's also, precedent now for them to finally approve things like that. Bitcoin futures ETFs are a thing, and there's also a lot of buzz that a Bitcoin spot ETF, could be used as precedent for altcoin ETFs, which would be huge in itself. The fact that they've allowed, so many Bitcoin ETFs, spot ETFs, and Ether ETFs at this point, that, I think it's a positive sign for the rest of the altcoins. So cautiously optimistic is kind of how I would put it. Even if proposals take a while or longer than we would like them to, just having this filing out there in the open puts Chainlink on the map in a new way. It signals that Chainlink is among the select projects being considered for mainstream investment products. For those of us who've been bullish on Link, because it's fundamentals, it's actually like a pat on the back. Like, hey, you were not crazy for thinking that this project was important. It's validation from the big leagues. Now, let's talk about fundamentals for a second. You might be thinking, isn't there already some kind of Chainlink investment fund out there? Yes, there is. The Grayscale Chainlink Trust. It's been around for a while, right? Giving accredited investors a way to get indirect exposure to Link tokens. But it's tiny, and it hasn't been the smoothest ride. Those grayscale trusts often have low liquidity and sometimes trade at a big discount to the actual value of the crypto that they hold. Not ideal if you're an investor, but mainly because you might buy in and then find out that your shares are worth 20% less than the market price, at least of the tokens themselves, due to that discount. Now, an ETF, on the other hand, could solve a lot of these issues. ETFs typically track the underlying asset price more closely, and you can buy or sell anytime during market hours pretty easily. It just makes investing in Chainlink as simple as clicking buy in your stock trading app. It's no worrying about kind of wallets. There's no worrying about private keys. There's no worrying whether your funds, these fund shares, are trading at a discount. Efficiency and ease. That is what an ETF could bring here. Now, one thing that I wonder about, and this one might be speculating, is how this might influence Chainlink's ecosystem overall. More institutional interest could mean more attention on Chainlink's tech, maybe more partnerships, more integrations, more credibility to bring in those big enterprise clients who are experimenting with blockchain. Now, Chainlink's already working with tons of projects, and even some traditional companies are dabbling, with its Oracle services for things like real-world asset tokenization. And if big money, people have a stake in Link's success, they might push those efforts even further, kind of like how having a shareholders can sometimes nudge a company to perform. It's an interesting thought, institutions indirectly becoming stakeholders in a decentralized network's growth. Now, of course, I have to consider the other side too. If an ETF ends up holding a ton of Link and then something weird happens down the line, imagine, say, years from now the fund closes or faces some regulation and has to unload all of that Link, well, that could mean a lot of sell pressure on the market all at once. That's a pretty hypothetical risk, and it's not a reason to oppose the ETF or anything like that, just something to keep in the back of our minds. But hey, that kind of risk comes with any asset being used, or at least once the kind of big funds actually get involved here. It's not unique to Chainlink at all. So let me not get too ahead of myself here though, because the narrative here is still unfolding, right? This filing is just the first chapter, I guess. Next, we likely will see a lot of back and forth between Bitwise and the SEC, right? They'll be reviewing the application, and if history is any guide here, they'll probably delay the decision once or twice. The SEC loves to, move its deadlines and add extensions. Now, we might even get some public commentary or questions like, is the market ready for this? How will pricing even work? What about manipulation? Now, all of that stuff could potentially happen. There's a good chance that we'll see a headline like SEC delays Chainlink ETF decision at least once, because they do kick the can down the road, right? They often do. Now, crypto Twitter, of course, will be buzzing with each little unique update, and you bet that there'll be a, popcorn in one hand, ready to either celebrate if we get good news or, go on a kind of salty rant if they deny it. It's going to be high drama for us Link Marines. Now, in the bigger picture, right, this whole thing, it shows how crypto is gradually merging with traditional finance. Now, a couple of years ago, just having a Bitcoin ETF was the dream, and it just kept getting shot down. Now in 2025, Bitcoin ETFs are live, Ethereum ETFs are live, and we're already moving down the list of other important altcoins on the SEC's desk. And Chainlink is also there now. It's kind of like the crypto world is growing up and getting invited to the adult table, right? At least in the finance world. We're not totally accepted yet, but we're inching our way in with a nice suit and a tie. Now, on a personal level, I find this really validating, right? I remember when Chainlink was like $5 and a lot of people were like, ugh, why bother? Oracles are boring, who cares? But those of us, using decentralized finance or even just understanding how blockchain technology works, at least back then, we knew how crucial Chainlink was. It was the thing keeping the DeFi Lego tower from toppling down by feeding it reliable data. Now, seeing Chainlink potentially getting its own ETF, I'm like, yeah, it's about time the rest of the world, caught up. It's a good feeling when a project that you believe in starts getting that mainstream nod. So, to wrap up, I would say this. Chainlink's ETF filing is a pretty big deal in my book, right? Not because it's guaranteed to succeed. It isn't. Nothing in crypto or life is ever guaranteed, but because of what it represents. It represents the evolution, the evolving acceptance of crypto's diversity in the mainstream investment world. It's not just Bitcoin and Ethereum anymore. The fact that a decentralized Oracle network token like Link is on the menu for an ETF means that the space is maturing. It's a milestone for the Link community and honestly for the crypto space as a whole, showing that useful crypto projects, not just the biggest ones by market cap, are actually getting attention. Now, we'll have to wait and see what the SEC does. I'm cautiously optimistic, emphasizing on the cautiously. Right? I've been burned before with these high hopes, but hey, fingers are crossed. In the meantime, of course, I'm just happy that Chainlink is getting the spotlight that it actually deserves. Right? You can bet that I'm going to keep you all posted on any big updates here. Who knows? Maybe in a few months we'll be, popping the champagne, on a live stream. And if it gets approved, or at least, we'll be venting if the SEC kind of rains on our parade. Either way, it's never a dull moment in crypto. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Is this Chainlink ETF going to get the green light? And if it does, is it the big boost for Link that we think, or just overhyped news? I'm super curious to kind of hear, some different kind of takes on this. And hey, if you want to kind of chat more about it and learn about more cool stuff like this, remember to join our Discord. It's a chill place to kind of hang on out, ask your questions, share ideas, and it's totally free. Right? We've got a great community. I'm in there pretty often as well. So why don't you just come and say hi? All right, that is all for this adventure today. If you've enjoyed the ride, then hit that subscribe button or check out the next video that's loading up on the screen, and I'll see you in the next one.